So, hey guys, I'm gonna be talking about dyslexia today. I probably have you baffled about how many diagnoses I have. I have about 6, 7. I am gonna be doing this probably for every for ADHD and anxiety, but today I'm doing dyslexia, and I hope you like it. So my first real sign of me having dyslexia came when I was 5 or 6, like it normally does. And dyslexia runs in my dad's side of the family. My dad was diagnosed with dyslexia when he was 15, so just before he did his GCSEs. Sorry. And just before he did his GCSEs, and of course by then it was kind of too late, so my mum was kind of wanting me to be assessed for dyslexia quite early because she wanted to make sure that if I had dyslexia, which I do, that I got the help I needed, but that didn't exactly happen. So school didn't really help me because they thought that dyslexia was something where if you're dyslexic you can't read, which isn't true because most dyslexics can actually read. They just find reading difficult, the whole understanding what you've read and decoding the words, I think, something like that. Dyslexia doesn't really affect my reading. I'm mildly dyslexic, so I don't really have issues with reading apart from reading what I've read, but that's about it. And so my mom was kind of pushing on to getting me help, getting me assessed for dyslexia, but also to get me a what they call now an EHC plan, so a statement. But school was like, no, she's not severe enough. She's not severe enough. She doesn't have any issues. She's just being lazy. This is coming from a teacher that called me stupid in front of the whole class, and basically egged on every single student in the class to do the same. I was badly bullied in school until I was 15, nearly 16, when I got held back a year due to my dyslexia, but I'll get to that in a minute. So my teachers weren't very helpful because they thought that I was just being lazy. Same with my ADHD, which wasn't picked up until this year. But they kind of refused to acknowledge anything was wrong. And my mom got really frustrated because she was just she often says it's like hitting a brick wall. It was like hitting a brick wall trying to get me help when I was 6, 7, because she didn't want me struggling on my own for most of my school life, which is actually what happened. But so school kind of refused to help. They didn't think I was dyslexic and blamed everything on my mom, so she was paranoid. My mum has mental health issues, blamed everything on that, and blamed all my issues on my mum because they said that my mum told me that I was different, which isn't true. I worked that out by myself, because when you can't understand what the teacher's saying, and pretty much everyone else does, you kind of gather there's something wrong. You know, I'm not stupid, not like that. Well, I'm probably gonna get killed if my mom heard me saying that. Because she'll probably be like, you're not stupid at all. But hey, so I really didn't get any help that I needed. The only help I really got was my year 4 teacher did everything she could. By this time I was diagnosed with dyspraxia. She did everything she could. She reduced the amount of spellings I had to learn, and she basically tried everything she could. She was a really good teacher. I really liked I think it was Mrs. I can't remember her last name, but I really liked her. She had the same birthday as me and everything. She was really nice, and she didn't stand anybody bullying anybody, and she was just a really nice teacher. And then I moved school, so because we moved here, so I moved school, and then when I was at my last primary, well, it was a junior school, but when I was at my last in my last few years of primary, my second school tried to do everything they could. They couldn't really do that much because I don't actually remember why, but there was a reason why they couldn't do that much. But my second school tried everything they could to help me. My year 6 teacher did everything she could to stop the bullying as well. I really liked her as well. She was really awesome, and she used to call. I basically got all the help that my second school, primary school, could give me. And they encouraged my creative side, so I was encouraged to be creative, which I really liked because, of course, if you're dyslexic, you're more likely to be creative. So they encouraged that side of me, and I just found it amazing that I could just be creative, and no one, they just encouraged that, and that was amazing for me. And then came secondary school. My mum didn't get on with the Senko at my secondary school. With a few weeks of, I was in IEPs in primary school, and with a few weeks without any discussion, she took me off. And I, of course, was the only diagnosis I had, well, only 2 diagnoses I had, was my diagnosis of dyspraxia and my sensory processing disorder, which, of course, both are for different videos, but she said that I couldn't be dyspraxic because I wasn't like any other dyspraxic child she taught. And of course, every child is different. Like, just because 2 people have dyslexia, just because 2 people have anxiety, just because 2 people have ADHD doesn't mean that they're exactly the same. My boyfriend has ADHD and we're definitely not the same. Like, we're similar, but we're not the same. And my mom didn't get on with her. She didn't really know what she was doing. She ended up getting fired, but that's kind of a different story. And then, so in year 7, I didn't really get that much help. I was really badly bullied. I was actually in and out of school for anxiety, because that's when my anxiety really started to kick in, because the bullying just wouldn't stop. And school didn't really do anything about it. So, of course, I had massive gaps in my learning, and if you're dyslexic, that's not exactly the best thing. But they kind of refused to acknowledge there was anything wrong. There were I had a support teacher for my anxiety because I was a vulnerable student. So I had a ELSA, I think it's called, emotional literacy support assistant, which called Yvonne. She worked with me from year 7 to right through to year 11, so right through from until July this year, because I was held back a year, so I stopped secondary schools this year. And she tried to support me in every way she could. Whenever there was some kind of support in place, the Senko would block it. So there wasn't much she could do about that. But pretty much everyone else, every other of my teachers, sorry, that probably didn't make sense, it's probably bad English. Every other teacher I had basically just yelled at me, called me stupid, called me lazy, called me thick. I really hated that. And then in year 8, my mum was given up trying to get the assessment done through school, and my grandparents actually offered to pay for a private assessment to get me assessed for dyslexia, because my grandparents are really nice like that, and I love my grandparents. But I love them, of course, not just because of that. There's other reasons why I love them. But they offered to pay privately for me to be tested for dyslexia. And when I was 12, 13, sorry, I think I was actually 13 by that point, because I had the assessment, and then I had the assessment, and then they had to like add up the scores and then come back to me, well, to my family. And so I think I'm pretty sure I was 13 by that point. I was diagnosed with dyslexia. I have mild dyslexia. It's not severe. And I have an above average intelligence of my age. So yeah, that's what my mom says every time I call myself stupid. You have above average intelligence of your age. You're not stupid. But my mom finally thought we would be able to get some support in place, but we couldn't because the Senko didn't read the report. She refused to read the report. I once again, they tried to get things in place. They tried to get things in place. They tried to help me. Well, very few people tried to help me, but they did try, and they completely refused. The Senko was like, nope, this child does not need help. And you know, the Senko did it with one of my mom's friends, who's not really little boy now, but when he started at school, where he was dyslexic and my mom's friend's dyslexic, she did the same thing with him. So it's not like I was the only one, but still not the point. And then year 9 came, and year 9 was an okay year for me. Initially, I was still being bullied. I still wasn't getting that much help. I used to get yelled at a lot because because I'm dyslexic and I can't process things from the board to my book. I would get yelled at because I wouldn't be getting things done fast enough, even though I'm not actually meant to write from the board. I'm meant to either type it or have someone write it for me or have the notes copied down. And that wasn't actually put into place until my second year 10. But better late than never. But yeah, and then my best friend who I was really close with, I'm still really close with. We still see each other. Her name's Molly. She moved schools, and then I became really close with my other really close friend. In year 10, well, end of year 9 to beginning of year 10, we became really close, and we're like that now. We're literally insane. But she's dyslexic as well, so it's kind of nice to have a friend that kind of understands. And then that's pretty much my first year 10 was pretty much when everything went down with my mental health. And then again, that's another story which I will talk about in another video. Everything went downhill with my dyslexia. My mom kind of was constantly phoning in because people were bullying me because of my dyslexia, and I just kind of, I guess, gave up. I was being yelled at by the teaching assistants because I wouldn't be getting the notes down, because they were like, why can't you get it down? And in my head, I'm like, I'm not meant to copy from the board. I'm dyslexic. You know, I'm not stupid. I'm not thick. I'm not lazy. I'm just really struggling, and you can't see that. And it was really frustrating that nobody really seemed to understand that and see that I was really trying hard. I remember, like, I'm kind of skipping back now. I remember in year 9 when my mum was talking to my teachers. They didn't even know I was dyslexic. Most of them didn't even know because they hadn't been told. And I actually take back with most of my teachers. Actually, my English teacher year 9 and year 10 was actually really good. He was really nice. He didn't make me write my assessments, and he printed things off for me, and he was really nice. And I always had support in that lesson. Plus, I always kind of liked English, even though I found it difficult. I liked the creative side of it because I really like writing. I'm obsessed with writing. It's just something I really like to do. And then he just really helped me, that's all. And then when I was actually temporary, officially excluded or something because of my anxiety, which is another story. That's when things started to click into place. Like, my mum was like, right, I'm going to get an EdSpsych report, which is what she was trying to do ever since I was diagnosed with dyslexia. And I'm going to just, because they can't, I don't think they're allowed to ignore an educational psychologist report. And so she got an educational psychologist report. And I was actually diagnosed with something else. And I was actually diagnosed with an auditory processing disorder, which I'll explain in another video as well. And which is actually the main cause of one of the main causes of dyslexia. So I kind of would have had it if I still would have had my auditory processing disorder. I kind of should have still had it, even if my dad wasn't dyslexic, or isn't dyslexic, because he isn't dead. I'm talking like he's dead. He's not dead. And my mom was like, alright, I'm going to make sure that she's going to get the help she needs. And we actually thought that I might have to move school. Luckily, I didn't. When I was out of school for about 5 months, I think authorities got involved, and they were like, no, this child needs to be back in school. It's a legal requirement, and you need to get this child back into school. So I was actually in school for like part-time, like on a part-time table. And that's really when things, it wasn't perfect. It really was not perfect. That's when I started getting more support. So I was allowed to take my iPad, because I have an iPad because of my dyslexia, as you can probably see in the background. I was allowed to take my iPad into school to write my notes down. I was able to, and when I was in year 11, I was able to take my laptop into school to help me copy the notes down. I was able to pretty much allowed to do what I was supposed to be able to do ever since I was diagnosed with dyslexia, but hey. And then pretty much everything clicked into place. I didn't have to write my assessments. My teacher was like, no, that's fine. My English teacher again in my second year 10 in year 11 was actually really good. She was really nice, and she was very encouraging. She encouraged me to be creative. She encouraged me because she saw my strength in creative writing, and she encouraged that. And that to me was kind of really cool, because that was really awesome. And then my English teacher actually was the one who presented me, because I got a prize giving award at my school. She was the one who presented me with it, and she made the speech. So that was really nice. That was really cool, because my English teacher made the speech. But yeah, and that's pretty much it from then. And so I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.